Okay, let's try again.
Yeah.
Sorry about last week, guys. I messed up our audio stream. So I couldn't release it because the fans in here were too loud and I couldn't fix it. So I don't know what happened. But
Was it the fans? Just that hum was too loud?
yeah, I could, because so normally it's way louder in here than you guys hear on the mic, but I can cut out the background noise normally. And when I was trying to do it last week on the audios, it wouldn't come out. So I couldn't isolate it to remove it. And I think it was just because I must have not hooked the mics up right or something. I don't know. I'm not there's only so much a guy can do.
You got a lot going on.
You know what I mean? So, and then I didn't have time to re-record it with you and fix it. So I apologize for missing a week. That's 2 weeks I've missed.
Since our
inception in the year 2021. 2021, I think we started.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I've missed 2. And you know what I don't like? Once there's a crack in the armor. I'm very particular about not cracking the armor because once you get one, it's way easier to let it go, you know? So I apologize. I also apologize to our boy Bjorn because I had his shirt last week and I had it on the podcast, but I don't have it this week. And I know he'd like that. So apologies for that. I'll try to get it on here another day. I went to get our mail for PowerTech because they moved buildings because of the renovation, whatever. And we had a whole bunch of stuff, but then there was the box. So Bjorn sent us the shirt with the...
Oh, that was like from...
Yeah, he sent it a while back.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And I didn't know that he had sent it.
Right.
He sent me an email, and then I was like, oh, shit, I don't get the mail. So anyways, I went there, I got it. And he wrote his very Bjorn note.
Yeah. Long note.
Yeah, long note. It's good stuff. So
it's great.
What's up with you? How's your life?
My life's fine.
Back to the OHL?
My life's fine.
Back to the OHL?
Yeah.
How are you enjoying the first little bit of games?
Great. So I love watching my kid play hockey.
So they just had last weekend was opening weekend?
Yeah. They played Owen Sound twice.
What's your mindset like now in year 4? Is there anything different, the same, more or less interesting? Like how has your mindset evolved at all watching?
The young guys are so young now.
It's weird, eh?
Old guys look old. The parents, everything's the same. Just it's like for me, just watching. That's it. Like everything becomes a little bit less. I don't want to say important, but I guess that's probably the term. Less important.
Why? Like why?
Well, you just realize after year 1, like all the things that it's very. I was just saying this to someone the other day. Year 1, you're because someone was asking me yesterday about how actually I was doing a consult. That's what it was, and the person asked me, he was like, how hard is it for you to not be involved with your kid? Like he goes, like you seem like you're able to do it, and I said I'm totally able to do it. My biggest thing was, and I explained the time where I thought that maybe he wanted when he would not vent, just say something about his team or his situation, especially first year. Then that was the time where I thought, okay, he wants me to talk to him and we'll get him through it. And he actually didn't. So that was the time where I sent him that note and said, listen, if when you tell me something, I don't want to ruin a father-son relationship here. I know you got this, but if you want to talk, I'm just going to ask you at the end of it because I feel like you're shying away. The last conversation I had, I don't ever want to cause distance because I'm getting in your hockey space. So I was like, let me know if I'll ask you at the end of the conversation or when you vent or whatever. Are you venting or do you want to talk about it? And he said, yeah, that'd be great. So I learned, and then, so as you go through this thing, you learn that the less you need to be involved is it that it's like your kids got it, man.
So
your kids have it.
So this is what I was going to ask. Like, do you think that part of that is you realizing, not that you were ever super involved or controlling, but is it you realize how much like you can't really do anything to impact the situation? Is there an element?
No,
there is.
There's being a good dad. Like it really is. But being a good dad, like even though I have hockey knowledge and I've been involved in the game and I could have him reach out to this guy for certain things, like they're individuals and they're going to take it as seriously as or not seriously as they choose to do. And you could, like the thing is you could, like the difference from year 1 to going into year 4 is that year 1, I was almost like, the app Waze. So you go on the road and everybody's, the map app, and you're driving along and someone says there's police, there's construction, take this route because it'll save you. If you don't listen, right? If you're going to outsmart the Waze and say, well, it says to cut off here, that doesn't make any sense because it's a long way, and then you get caught in traffic for an hour, that's your fault. So like, it's almost like you're the Waze for your kid. Like I was almost in a way. So like, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. Try this. And he's either going to listen or not.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. So now it's like, you're your own freaking Waze, unless you ask me. Because, so like first year was, you get into bed, make sure you get to bed. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. Yeah. And it's like, it gets old, but it's like, it's helpful. It's actually helpful. This might happen. This is going to happen. Year 2, it's like, yeah, I know I need to go spend time with the power. Yeah, I know I got to work out. I'll take it serious. Don't worry, Dad. And it's like, don't waste your time with it. I mean, the first year or 2 was like a little bit of guidance, and now it's like year 3, year 4, even year 2. It's like, you're either going to do it or you're not. I'm not saying he does or doesn't. I'm just saying they're going to do it or not. They're going to have that intrinsic motivation, or they're not. They're going to really want to be a hockey player, or they're not. They're going to see guys that they play with who get drafted, sign, and find, like, success leaves clues. And you're going to find those clues and attack, or you're going to sit back and make excuses. And there's not a whole lot you can do as a dad or a mom or whatever. So the real point of this is to enjoy it. And I do. I really do.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I enjoy the process. I watch it. I like watching him learn, go through good, bad, ugly. I like it all. So, and progress. I like seeing progress.
So it's funny. I was noticing this, like, similar concept, but with our younger guys, sometimes during the school day here, I pop into the class just to see, like, what's going on. And so I went into the grade school class yesterday, and they were doing a lesson about, like, healthy eating or food or something, like a health class in their grade school. So on Mondays we do our nutrition thing. And so I walked by one of the kids. So, like, shout out to little Levi here. I walked by him and I'm looking over his shoulder. I'm like, hey, what are you working on? He's like, oh, I'm doing a journal entry. And the question was something along the lines of, oh, how do you think about healthy foods? Like, what do you think about it? How do you think about it? Whatever. And he had copied down or wrote down something that I had said to him in our nutrition class. Like, I try to make sure I'm looking for nutrient dense foods. I remember I read the sentence and he said nutrient dense foods in the sentence. He's like grade 8. And point of that, as it relates to what you're talking about, it made me think of that, because there's so much of this as a instructor, a coach, a parent, whatever, where you're really, how you always say, throwing mud at the wall and just hoping that some of it sticks and they can make the right decision when they need to, because you can't make them. You can't make them do it. They have to do it. So whether it's your kid that's in the OHL or it's the grade 8 kids sitting in our nutrition class that they could easily just not pay attention, but you're hoping that you lead them, show them the path, and they take some of that information. But it's interesting to see as they get closer to being adults, they get smart, right? So they might think they know better, or there's that intermediate stage where they're not a kid anymore, but they're not a grown-up, and they just think they know a lot. And that can go one of two ways, right? Where they ignore what people are telling them, or they actually take some of the advice to try to make themselves better. You know what I mean? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the PowerTech online membership program. If you've been listening to Andy and I wondering, hey, how are they able to get all this podcast content out there? Well, that's because of our members. For just $9.99 a month, you can get access to our online video library, including hundreds of videos of Coach Andy teaching, and have the option for consultation calls with Andy or myself to go over anything you need. We can cover training, nutrition, coaching, parenting, agents, the junior college hockey path, whatever's of interest to you. You'll also be able to participate in our popular Ask Me Anything episodes, have access to special discount codes, and be given priority for any PowerTech in-person camps or events. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, this is the best way to do it. Visit powertechhockey.ca/memberships or find the link in the description of this video to learn more. So anyways, I want to go back and redo what we talked about last week, because I think it was interesting and I want to make sure that we get some post out about it. We talked about professionalism and sportsmanship and that kind of stuff last week, and I want to talk about it again because I think it's a good topic. And the reason it started was because Coach Mac and I were talking about wearing hats. Like, this is what started it, and I want to have him on the podcast and I'm going to hit him with that question as the first one. It's like, what do you got against hats, to talk about it? So that started our conversation last week. I want to talk about it again because for me, when you talk about the idea of being professional or professionalism, I don't feel like it's a look. I feel like it's more of a behavior. You're behaving professionally or you're not, even though how somebody looks can give you clues. I don't think that's necessarily the marker. So for you, I want to start again on your perspective on, first of all, the hat thing, and then we'll broaden it out to more just like professionalism in general, what you wear and how you present yourself and that kind of stuff.
You're talking hats as a coach, is what you were saying,
or a player, like because teams ban, they say no hats. Like Mac does that with his team. He says no hats, and I don't care if they wear hats for me. So where are you on the hat spectrum? First thing, and then I want to broaden.
I don't give a rip. I don't care, but I know society does. That's how I do a lot of things, right? I don't care about that stuff, but I care that it's important to other people, I guess. So if on the onset, it's like, this is how I look. This is how I view stuff like that. If I get a tattoo, or if anyone gets a tattoo, I don't care if you have a tattoo, but you can't actually get upset or pissy if someone judges you for having a tattoo, because that's life. You can't, if you're a guy that wears an earring and a tattoo or whatever, or you have really long hair, whatever that's outside of the norm, then you can't be pissy with people for like maybe questioning your decision making. So when it comes to hockey, if we're looking at coaches and your coach has an earring and a tattoo on his neck, right? Like a Conor McGregor tattoo or something on the bench, and a hat, like you said, a hat, and there's this whole thing, people are just automatically going to, right or wrong, are going to judge, right? Was he in jail before? Whatever the question is. If you have earrings and stuff, you're just automatically going to get judged. So it's not a matter of me of what I feel my opinion is. It's a matter of, in society, in certain roles, you're supposed to look, and whether that's right or wrong, a certain way. So from now we go like a kid walking in to the hockey rink with a baseball hat on, I could care less. If they walk in with a suit as a kid, that makes no sense to me either, wearing all dressed up. A coach behind the bench, I think it's probably depends on what you're trying to project. If you're at a AAA hockey tournament and you're a coach, I don't think you need to wear a suit. And I don't think you need to look like an absolute slob. It's just something like you're representing something. So I think you tighten up whatever you can, where you can. And I mean, it's a personal opinion, but I think the thing to me is that if it's something that can be pointed out, then it's probably an issue, a little bit of an issue. That's what I think.
So I think that's, for me, I draw the line at the attention seeking. So if you're wearing something that is obviously bringing attention to yourself, like whatever crazy suit or some kind of crazy hat or some kind of statement jewelry or accessory or whatever, then that's where I put the line, because now you're making it about you. And the problem with my opinion, if I'm countering myself, is that people will put the line in a different place, right? Because it's a very subjective thing. You can think one thing and I can think another. And I think part of Mac's argument is that if anyone is going to think anything negative, just remove it. Like, just remove the ability for anyone to think something negative about you. And if it's a hat, for me, I don't care. For other people, they do care. And one of his main points too is that a lot of higher level hockey people are still like old school. You know, they see you're wearing a hat or they see you have a tattoo or an earring or a whatever, And though I think it's becoming more acceptable for people to wear what they want and be a little bit more showy about what they're doing or how they're presenting themselves, there's a lot of guys that are still old school. And it's like we talked about with the haircut thing. You show up in your haircut's an absolute disaster. I right away look at you and I'm like, why is your hair like that? Because that's something that I judge personally. I choose to not judge the hat thing. It doesn't bother me, but I do judge the hair thing. So I think that's more the critical piece of his side of it, where he's like, if anyone's going to think anything of it, why not just make sure you're clean cut and neutral so that nobody thinks anything of it? Which I understand. For me, I draw the line at if you're trying to do things that are attention seeking. You wear a bright yellow suit to the game, or you wear some crazy hat or whatever, like I said. That's where now it's about you, and it feels like you're purposely drawing attention to yourself. And that's where I don't like it, because now you're trying to turn the spotlight onto yourself based on something that doesn't really matter. So I got into it with our players last year, because I remember we went to go see Union College and was it Harvard? Union College versus Harvard Division I game, and these guys got on the bus dressed like bums, dude. They had sweatpants, graphic T-shirts. One kid was wearing a stupid hat, like it was like a puppy ear hat or something. And I'm like, guys, you look terrible. That doesn't mean you have to wear a suit, but just be presentable, And I think there I agree with it, but I feel like for me personally, I give more play in the joints of what bothers me versus doesn't. If you want to wear a hat, I don't care. If you wear a hat that has a pot leaf on it, that's probably not great. You're inviting criticism, or you're inviting a negative perspective. So I think that's important for kids to understand. And wherever you fall on the spectrum with that, doesn't matter to me. Like Mac looks at me on the bench sometimes. I have a hat on, and he's like, "What is wrong with you? Like, how could you be wearing a hat on the bench right now?" Whereas I don't care. So as long as, for me, again, just my opinion, if you're presenting yourself cleaned up, even if you're wearing sweatpants or even if you're wearing whatever, as long as you're put together well, you look like you're cleaned up, then I don't particularly care what choices you make, as long as it's not something that is going to draw negative attention to yourself for whatever reason. That's kind of where I put my line. But I think it's important for kids to know, because whatever they decide to do, to your point, you have to know that people are going to judge whatever decision it is that you make and how you present yourself.
Yeah. Well, so it goes a couple ways, right? Like, so if it comes from an organization down. So if you, and really this is where I would say it's important or it's not. If you play for an organization where, see, everything's a reflection of the coach, right? Or the leaders of an organization. So if rules are set in place that you have to wear a shirt and tie to a game, and preferably explain that to me, by the way. But if you got to wear a shirt and tie to the game as a player, then because we want our kids to look professional and they're representing something, so be it. That is what it is. What it is. I don't believe in that at all. But then the coach can't go and do the opposite, right? So the coach has to be able to dial it in like that. So if that's your program, that's your program. If your program is like when I coached youth hockey, I was never a fan of shirt and ties for kids going into a rink. So I said, you wear your tracksuits, or that's actually what I want. I want them to wear their tracksuits to the games, because everybody would not about looking the same. It's like everyone's representing the team. That's all it was. It was easy. And for me, being a player, I was always like, go to the rink. I don't need your clothes to be a problem, and parents to spend money on sweaters and ties and stuff that they don't even know how to hang up properly and stuff. So it was like, for me, it was like, that was the reason. It wasn't about looking professional. We had nice tracksuits. It was fine. Hats never bothered me, but I preferred toques, but I left it at that. And so the next part of that was, I didn't want to go on the bench dressed like I was going to a funeral either. Right. I like to be comfortable, because you're in and out of the rinks. You're trying to stay warm. And I didn't like being uncomfortable while I was coaching. I'm not coaching the NHL right now. So, and I still don't understand why they coach with shirt and ties in the NHL. So that was my rules, and that was fine. If people think that it wasn't professional, then that's their 100% opinion. But I also don't feel that those kids, like if they were in their draft year and stuff, they were getting judged fairly or unfairly because of the way they were dressed, because they were all the same. If I didn't have any type of rule, and someone wanted to come in a suit and someone else wanted to come in dressed like they were selling drugs on the corner, then that's not what I want. That's not what I wanted, right? And that's something. But I always told the kids, act more than dressing. Saying this the right way. Make sure you're acting appropriate. Like, I don't think an OHL or a college scout is expecting you to go to the rink and if your team is wearing tracksuits, it's fine. It is what it is. But just act accordingly is more important. And I've been speaking of the coaches things in the NHL. It's like, I still don't understand the shirt and tie thing. I think I was explaining it last week when we were talking about the hat and the shirt and tie. I think the reason that still sticks because we were saying, why do you I'm a why guy. Why, when you say you can't wear a hat at the table, like, okay, why? And we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago about, well, it probably stems from the old farmers and working. Hats were dirty, and you bring it to the table, put it on the table. You're bringing dirt and your day's work on the table, and that actually makes sense, right? And I think with shirt and ties, it's really not that long ago where a gentleman wore a shirt and tie wherever he went when he went outside the house, right? So I think that is a standard that is still held in a lot of like the NHL and coaching practices, but it doesn't really coincide with society anymore. So I think we can probably get away from that. So that's why I think I'm not really a businessman, but I think that look to me is like outdated, a shirt and tie, but it's not for some. So I would be fine with wearing like nice Lululemon pants and a button-up shirt or a 3/4 zip, like a tighter version like they have now. And like there's some coaches in the NHL, like I think Tortorella pulls it off every now and then. He doesn't wear a shirt and tie. He wears the zip up that's nice with the logo, and it looks, in my opinion, it looks better.
I agree. But, okay, so interesting contrast.
Yeah,
I'm watching the Lions game the other night, and their coaches, they look like athletic. Like they'll wear a team sweater or a team long sleeve or a team whatever with a hat, and they got the headphones and their plaything, and it's 100% acceptable. And that's actually how all the coaches dress. Like there's not a shirt and tie guy on the sideline in a football game. And
the odd coach,
really,
yeah. You get, remember
NFL?
Ditka used to have the vest and the.
Oh really? Okay.
There was there are some that still button it up, and that's what they choose.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So well, regardless, the majority,
most of them are.
Yeah, the majority, they're just athletic.
Belichick cuts off the sleeves.
Well, dude, you see Dan Campbell. This guy's a unit. He's still your athletic guy, super high energy. It doesn't match if the guy wears a suit, you know. And I think of myself more in that camp of I'm moving a lot on the bench. Like I got my foot up on the dasher. I'm jumping around, talking to guys, whatever. And I like that athletic feel more. I think that represents how I am more. And for some reason in the NFL, it's fine. But in the NHL, it's like you have to be shirt and tie guy, right?
How about this one? I've always said this. Why do baseball coaches have to wear a uniform?
Okay. Right? So there's another total mix. It's like they're dressed like the players.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Okay. So
yeah,
this is my point. This is my point. Like the standard is just not consistent across what does a coach wear. It's like in the NHL, this is more what they wear. This is more what they wear. This is more what they wear. It's all subjective. So that's why I always go back to the philosophy about professionalism is that it's a behavior, right? Which is what you said. Make sure you're acting appropriately, whether you wear a suit or a tracksuit, because I've seen coaches, you have too, they wear the shirt and tie like they're Joe Coach, and they're goofs. And then you get the guy that is way more relaxed, whatever, that's a better coach, and vice versa. You get the guy that wears jeans and a baggy shirt, that's a goof, and the guy that's in a shirt and tie, that's excellent. You know, so I don't like that measurement stick of how you're presenting. I think it's more just a behavior kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I think though, when you get to, this is just me looking out for my players, I guess. Not my players, but players if I was coaching them. I think it depends also on the level that you're coaching. So it's probably less important that, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it's less important that if you're taking a 12-year-old team to a tournament and you're wearing, you're kind of like dressed down and you're not really looking professional, that you can probably get away with that a little bit more than if you're coaching a team that's in their draft year, or you're talking to, or you may be speaking or on behalf of your kids, representing your kids to teams and schools and stuff. Like you might want to look like you have a brain. Like, you might want to look like you're a little bit more dialed in or intelligent, but it's fine. To me, the biggest thing is with the kids. Is this would be my advice to the kids is when you're gonna get people are watching, and if people are watching and you're at the age where it's important, you get a chance to make your first impression, and your first impression lasts, and you don't want that first impression to be that you're a jackass. So I've always said this. I said this to my son. Said it to all the kids that I train. If you like to have if your hair is that important to you right now, I don't know what to say. But put your hair in a place, in a style that doesn't say, I love my hair. My hair is my most important thing. Look at my hair, right? Just put make yourself look like an athlete. What would your Sidney Crosby look like? Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, although he gets a little bit of the bling going and stuff, but look at the majority of your leaders in the NHL. That's what you're supposed to look like as a professional, right? So until you get to the level where it doesn't matter anymore, and you're that good that you're going to get a contract no matter what, then you can do whatever you want. That's just my thing on trying to impress, because you are getting judged. And if you would like to wear earrings, if you're just that good to that it doesn't matter, that's fine. But if you're not the best player in the world by a long shot, then you might want to wait a little while on that, because I know for a fact, and I'm one of them, I judge people by your look. I know you're not supposed to say that. Most people would never say that I judge. Do you judge people? I judge people. I go on first appearances, and it means something to me. It means like, and I said that when I was a kid. When I don't want to be associated with rock stars. I'm a hockey player. So when people ask me, when that was my answer with drugs. Like, do you smoke drugs? Have you ever did drugs? I was like, I'm a hockey player, not a rock star. I'm going to look that way, going to act that way. I'm going to do things that hockey players do, not rock stars. And that was, I don't ever want anyone to get confused on what I was. And that's what I would say to people is like, when you're thinking about this will be cool, this will be great, it's like, that's fine. But just look at someone's going to judge you. And it could be the one person that might like you as a player and go, I just don't like that attitude that he presents. And if that not going to probably ruin your life, but that's not to me, that's not a judgment call I want against me.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well,
that's it.
I think the example I used last week was with Brent Burns. If you look at his draft picture and then look at whatever it was 5 years later when he starts growing the beard, the most clean cut draft picture you'll ever see, right? Baby face, fresh shave, hair done, shirt, collar, tie. And then you go to how he plays now, his beard's down to his chest. He's got no teeth. Looks like he doesn't give a rip. He's there now. He doesn't have to impress anybody. There's nobody judging him. There's nobody that's looking at what he's doing, because he's now established. He's earned that position. So if he wants to now go out and be a little bit more showy or make a statement of appearance or whatever you want to call it, that's what the beard does. If he showed up on draft day with a beard like that, then you're inviting people to be like, why is your beard like that? So it's an important thing. We had this conversation even with the academy. They were talking about school uniforms. Yeah, school uniforms. And I was like, I don't like forcing people to have to wear things, but the uniform thing is nice because everyone's uniform. It's not, you don't open it up for interpretation on what you can wear and what you can do. So me and one of the teachers were getting into it a little bit, because she was of the opinion like they should be able to express themselves however they like and whatever. And part of that's true, but part of it is also people will judge you. And that's kind of a counterpoint to myself, because like I said, I don't care. Like, if people want to wear hats or they want to wear different things, it doesn't necessarily bother me, provided you're not unnecessarily drawing attention to yourself that could be negative in some way. So if you're relatively milquetoast neutral, but you're wearing different things, it doesn't bother me. But if you start coming in with your bling bling and your tattoos and your showy suit or showy shoes or whatever accessory, it's not that it's necessarily a problem, but you're just inviting that judgment. You're just that it is what it is. Yeah, right. So you just need to be aware of those are choices that do make an impact to some degree, because I'm like you too. I judge first appearance for sure. People come in, it's like right away you make a snap judgment, and I would say most people probably do, whether they admit they do or not.
I'll just admit I do.
Right. And well, that's how I am too. And it matters to me, how you come in and say hello, how you present yourself. Are you looking me in the eye? Did you dress up? Like, we had one of our teachers showed up to the first interview, and they were like super buttoned up, nice pair of pants, good shirt. And they primarily were interested in a hockey role, but they know that they're coming in to interview as a teacher. So they came in, made a great first impression, hung out for the day. And I was like, freaking right, man. Like almost to the point where it's like he missed on the side of overdressed, which is way better than looking to like you're not fitting the part, right? So it does matter, man. It makes an impact. So it's when you're making decisions, particularly before you're established. Like I got criticism when my hair was long because they would say, "Oh, I thought you were the haircut guy. Like you're supposed to be cleaned up and whatever." Like, well, first of all, I keep it cleaned up. Second of all, I'm not trying to impress anybody. Like there's no one that's coming in to judge me for whatever role thing that I'm trying to get. You know, I'm all set. So I have the luxury of having a little bit more play in the joints on that kind of stuff because I'm not working to impress. I don't have a 60-year-old scout that played in the NHL 40 years ago coming in and saying, "Hey, nice to meet you. You look like an idiot with your hair and your stupid hat." No one's saying that to me, you know? So it's just something to consider as the players and then as parents, like when your kids are going out presenting themselves at a tournament or at school or whatever, it is just something to think about when you're making decisions on that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember, about 5 years ago, I got a mohawk.
Yeah, I do.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I know.
I was getting a haircut and I told the girl, I said, just give me a mohawk. I'm 50, right? I love mohawks. I actually do. If I could, there's a certain length of it that I love. I think it's the best haircut for this head. Swear to you. And it wasn't for attention at all. I liked them. It was the summertime. I said, yeah, give me a mohawk. It was great. I loved it. Favorite haircut ever. But then I'm going, okay, but someone would say, oh, would you lose a bet? This, that, the other thing. It's like, actually, no. But that's what comes across. It's like you're drawing attention and it's not professional.
Right.
Like, let's be honest. It's not professional. Yeah. So it's, whatever. So anyways, no, but I could live and say, well, I'm not doing it for any other reason, but you know what? It's something.
Yeah. You're not going into your first business meeting, man. Yeah. Like you have that luxury, right? Yeah. So the last thing on that before we move on is that I thought Mac made a good point about it as well is he implements the no hat thing and a more strict dress code just for the sake of having the team follow a rule, which I also can appreciate that perspective as well. It's like, if you can't figure out how to get your hair done without wearing a hat so that you don't look like a dummy, then that's something that you're going to need to figure out. So seeing, will they do it? Will they follow it? Are they going to make sure that they're adhering to what the team is saying that needs to be done? Are they buying into the team? It's kind of a proxy metric for that kind of stuff, which I do appreciate also. So I think that's probably the most impactful quote or reason he gave me. It's like, it's just a rule for the sake of them following the rule to see, are they going to buy into what the team is asking them to do, which I think is not a bad call. So the second thing which kind of tails into the professionalism thing, I wanted to talk about, I guess the umbrella category would be more sportsmanship type things. So this would cover chirping, dirty hits, dirty play, and the more on ice behaviors, bitching at teammates, that kind of stuff. So for you, when it comes to let's say the chirping, or if you're one of those guys, or you might be one of those guys that kind of plays on the line of a little bit more pest or a little bit more dirty or whatever, what are your thoughts about that generally? And where do you kind of put the line of what's acceptable versus not? Because I remember you talking to me about Charlie. I don't mean to take your point if you're going to say it again, but you talking to me about Charlie saying chirping is kind of what guys do now. It's a little different. Like, not everyone wants to fight anymore. A lot of times it's with words, and maybe it's a little bit more part of the game or whatever. And for me, I was noticing it maybe 2 weekends ago. We were playing and guys want to chirp, and I immediately shut it down. Like, I shut it down right away. I tell them to shut their pie hole. I don't want to hear it. You're either doing something or you're not doing nothing. There's none of this in between, get us a penalty and cost us whatever. And then I started kind of reflecting on it a little bit, asking myself, am I holding the teenage boys that are full of testosterone and passion to too high of a standard with respect to that stuff? Because to me, I don't particularly care that much about if we win or we lose. I'm not ultra passionate about this game in particular. I'm more passionate about, are they doing things the right way? Are they playing the right way? Not if we win, but they're really passionate about if we win. And some of them get super into the game. They get heated and they start yapping and whatever. So should I be a little bit more flexible about that kind of stuff is question that I've been asking myself recently. I still feel like no is my answer. I don't think there's a need for it. But what do you think about that kind of stuff, or where do you put the line for guys that you coach or interact with?
So first of all, there's a point in hockey where winning is everything. That's called junior, college, and pro. And I say that because now if you're coaching, your job is on the line. If you lose year after year, you don't have a job, period. So winning is important, or else you don't make money. For players, why I said that is because then it can become a tactic. There's some teams that are very good at being very unsportsmanlike, very dirty, very mouthy. The teams you love to hate because everything you guys do rub me the wrong way, but that's a tactic, right? There's a couple teams in the OHL that have always been like that you just don't like them. They're always yapping after the whistle, this, that, the other thing. And it's not my style, but it's a tactic. What does it do? Is sometimes it draws penalties. It frustrates other teams, or maybe a kid is given a role to do that because he's good at it, and the coach says, yeah, just go. There's a reason for it. But until you get to that level, I would say shut your pie hole. And I would even say that for your whole career, but unless it's instructed to you, or
you can make an argument for it at higher levels.
You can make an argument for it later when there's money involved or and careers involved. But when you're young, I see zero value in it. In fact, when I had a rule on my team, we just kind of talked about this earlier. One was don't lay down on the ice. If you lay down on the ice, some guys will do it to draw a penalty. I'm like, I don't want a penalty that way. I don't care. I'd rather you show that you can muck it out. You're tough enough that you can get up. And if you do lay on the ice, then that means you're done for the day, that you're going to go to the doctors and get a doctor's appointment before you come back on my ice. That's how serious I took it. One was a bunch of bullshit. What I mean by the bullshit is like, I know that you're probably not hurt and you probably don't need a doctor. But the point is, I told him, like, I wouldn't want anybody under my watch to be injured.
Yeah, you play the safety card.
So I said, if you're going to lay on the ice, out, and you don't come back on the ice till you're a doctor. What my point was is that you're going to play a tough game without showing that you're weak, or you're going to draw penalties. So that was
you want to win the mental game.
Yeah. So that's why my teams never laid down. If they did, they're gone. See you later. Go to the doctor. So that was that. Speaking to refs, every team that I coached, I said, I'll do the talking. I'm an adult. I can control myself. And if I lose my shit, you guys can still get to play. I don't want anybody kicked out or whatever. But I told them, I said, I'm smart enough to understand that you don't win battles with refs. So I'm not going to sit there and argue about stuff. I got kicked out once, and it was a playoff game with these kids, and it was more of the longs that they wouldn't talk to me at all. And I took a mark, and I was like, come on, man. Like, out of total frustration, some kid just going, no talking, and I'm like, so I got kicked out for a couple games. Whatever. Yeah. And
like, the marker.
Yeah, but it wasn't like I'm. So the report was, but this is important. The report was that the coach went nuts and he threw a marker trying to hit me. It's like, not true, but you did it. They can say whatever you want, right? So now there's rules that you in junior and in pro where you can't say words. Like, there's certain words you can't use. So in the heat of the battle, if you just like to throw your mouth off and you say that when it could be misunderstood, you could have said it, the heat of the battle, whatever, and you lose a paycheck, or you lose, you're out of the lineup for a couple games because you got suspended. It's just stupid. So that's that. So I always told my kids that, and this is how I feel about it, is that when you have to chirp someone, you are giving that person your energy. That's how I feel. It does nothing for your game. Like, and people could argue that a good chirp could make someone pissy and take a penalty. That's fine. But to me, it's like, it's energy that you don't need. And I'm always a big fan of shutting your mouth and let your body of work do the talking. Let your skill do the talking. If you say you're going to punch someone in the head, why tell them? Why don't you just do it? Because if you say that 4 or 5 times, it's like, well, you're not going to do anything anyways. So let your actions speak louder than your words 100% of the time. I just feel like there's nothing good could come out of chirping. Only you're only inviting negative, because you could lose control. You could be focused so much on the chirping. You could be so focused on getting them back with words, and it could lead to penalties. It could lead to things. And you know what? The thing is that in life, not just in hockey, obviously, your mouth is they say that, right? Your tongue is the most dangerous weapon. It could be for the good or for the bad, and you could use your tongue eloquently, and it could benefit you a lot of times, which is very powerful. But it could also destroy you with one word, right? So I think when in doubt, just shut your mouth and play. And even we're having conversations is something I'm learning more and more. The less I say, the less trouble I could ever get in, or whatever.
Oh man,
do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So sometimes better off just to shut your pie hole. I would say that for most things.
Yeah.
Just
even if you think you're helping, it's like sometimes it's better to shut up.
Well, that's what is it? If you say nothing and let people think that you're an idiot, or say something and prove everybody right that you are an idiot, right? So sometimes you just stay quiet. You're better off. But anyways, that's my thing. I think talk is cheap. You and I were watching a hockey game one day. Windsor Spitfires, Guelph Storm. A little bit of a scrum. Two guys are ready to go. Couple guys on whatever team they were yapping. Went to the penalty box, which we were like a little bit above. And these guys got in the box and they started telling them how they're going to kick their ass. You're dead. You're going to kick your ass. It's like, but you just had a chance and you didn't. So you're all talk. So you go in the box and you're yapping. Then you go on the ice and you don't do anything anyways. So why don't you just shut up? Just go play the game instead of pretending that you're a threat in any way. And for me as a coach, I just go bananas. I think as scouts, I think most of them would say the same thing: is just shut your mouth, go about things quietly. You know, the best thing for me is if you are getting chirped, let's say I'm on the wing and someone just chirp, and it's like you don't say a word and they think that they got you or whatever, and then they say something or whatever and you go whack, right? You let them know that this is over right now, or you punch them out, or you lay them out with a couple good hits. That says everything. That'll shut someone up right away.
Well, as long as you're whatever, I think keeping your word or doing what you say you're going to do, that's what I always say. I remember talking to Charlie about that too. When he first started like getting into the OHL, I was like, if you're going to chirp or you're going to say stuff, just make sure you'll do whatever you actually said, because then people take you seriously. So even if the off time you end up chirping and you don't do it because whatever, it's a bad time in the game or whatever it is, at least you have done it and you might do it. Yeah. And people have to be careful, and that was one thing I was really proud of with myself, because that I was not normally like that. Like I was not, I remember being a kid and the thing on me was I was a nice kid. Everyone would say that about me. I was a nice kid. And that used to piss me off because I didn't want to just be like a nice kid. So I had to build that ability into my own character. It wasn't there naturally. So whether it was starting with boxing or purposely getting into fights at games or at camps, just so people would see I would do it. And then I got to keep that all through junior, all through university. Like people would know that there is a line. There's a line. And if you cross the line, I'll do something, and that's important to have that authentic feel to you as a player, so that people take you seriously, and you want to do that. And that's just a good habit, even outside of hockey. Just want to be a person.
But you know what's so funny? I listen to interviews, like this is like way off the charts that most people probably won't even think of. But I listen to when people talk about their game and stuff like that. I laugh. Every person that they get interviewed, like, tell us about your game. Well, it's the same. I'm a 200-foot player. I play in both ends. I'm a hard worker. I'm very physical. I did this, and this. And then you watch, you go, oh, no, you're not. You're a one-way player that never hits anybody and avoids all contact. Why don't you say that? Your mouth just live up to what your words are. So you might as well just say, we're like in a situation like that. I try to do good things for my team and, stay humble and let your actions talk. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. And
like that's sorry, I cut you off again, but it's like, how's Charlie doing? Like a lot of people, how's Charlie doing? How's this guy doing? It's like, I just learned a long time ago to say, doing well. Oh yeah, like any team's talking. It's like, yeah, you got some here and there. They don't need details because they don't care. Number two is that if I say, whatever. We even some of the guys that we have here, if we start saying, yeah, he's this, he's this, he's this, he's this, he's this, and then they watch and go, well, he's not all that. It's like, just say less. He's fine. You're going to figure it out anyways.
Yeah.
Right?
And I noticed that maybe like slightly switching gears to finish up is I noticed this when I talk to parents or I talk to other coaches, just like the humble brags, man. Like it just kills me. It just kills me. And like, I don't know what people think when they go into a conversation. And it's not just about with me, with anyone. Like, people will know what the truth is. They will find out. Like, they will know. So if you come in with some bullshit, I'm going to know. So I sit and I have these conversations, and it's always like, yeah, I'm not that parent. I'm not that, but, and then it's like, they're this, and this person, I don't say this, but other people say this. And it's like, I've had 25 of these calls this week already, man. It's like, I'm going to know when I watch the video. I'm going to know when I see them play. It's like, you're not faking me out. It doesn't matter what you say to me, And then now I think you're a goof because you didn't just let the play do the talking, man. And I think that's my last thing is for coaches and parents is that you seriously need to set the example on this stuff because, like I was saying before we went on that spiel, I'm trying to decide how much to let the kids get away with because they're kids, because they don't know self-control quite as well yet. And it's important that you teach it, but you're not over-teaching or overbearing or not letting them still experiment and develop into their own person. But as a grown-up, as an adult, like, there's no excuse to me to watching a coach lose their shit on the bench. There's no excuse watching a parent where I can hear you screaming from across the rink. I was watching a game on Sunday I went to watch, and like parents just screaming in the stands, like screaming. And you want to talk about like sportsmanship, professionalism, or they're yelling about like a kid lands a clean hit by all accounts, but it's like, get him out of here. Like, how are you not calling that? Blah, ball, blah, blah, about another kid, or he's a goon.
Because it didn't go their way.
Yeah, or like,
if their kid did it, it'd be like a great hit.
He's a goon. Like, are you a 12-year-old? So as a grown-up, it's like you're up in the stands speaking this way about a kid. So those kinds of things to me are not totally inexcusable from a sportsmanship professionalism standpoint, whether it's a parent or a coach. It's like just not, you have to know better. You have to know better and present a good example for that kind of stuff.
But it's amazing to me in this field how people parents will talk to me and they just tell me everything that is about their kid, about everything about hockey. It's like you have, you just have, you have zero clue. Zero. Like I was talking to someone here about their kids playing junior, and I said, I'm just telling you right now, it's a different world now. So I'm not going to say a whole lot, but it's junior hockey, and this could happen, or will happen, and this, and just watch. I'm telling you, but they can't help themselves, and it's like, well, I'm done talking about it because, like, and I don't apparently. So when you have all this world of hurt coming to you, it's like I already told you. So, but you think you're smarter, and it's like what makes me shake my head even more is like if I have a talk with, let's say, Charlie's general manager or a OHL coach, I actually have lots to offer, but many, many, many times I just let them talk whether I'm right or wrong. I might throw maybe an opinion in here, but I understand that they're in the thick of it right now and they have their opinions and I respect it, and I could be wrong at this point or whatever. But what blows my mind is when someone that has never put on a pair of skates, or maybe they did, but they didn't, and they start telling you how hockey works. I hate it. Like, please don't talk to me anymore. Because I know I don't go, like, side note is I'm teaching a class now, like, as you know, because we work together. I'm teaching a leadership class. And when I'm in there, I'm going, I'm not a teacher. So I know that I'm presenting something and it's probably not that, no, I'm humble enough to say that I'm not a teacher. I teach a course, but I am not a teacher. And I can see, like, there's gaps missing in this presentation that is probably not appropriate for school. That if I went to teacher's college right now, I'd probably fail of being a teacher, because where's the 3 steps or 4-step process of teaching the class? There is none, right? So it amazes to me when I talk to someone, I do not go into a teacher and say, you don't know how to teach, because I don't know. And I don't go to my insurance agent and say, this is how insurance work. You're dumb. It's like they look at you like, what are you talking about? You're an idiot. But I don't tell people they're idiots because they're kids in hockey. But actually, when you speak, you're an idiot. And it's actually no different than a lot of comments we get on our thing. Like they generalize, like they'll generalize something. It's like, this is the way it is. I know. It's like, first of all, you didn't listen to the whole podcast. Second of all, you're taking one thing, and not everything is everything all the time. Right?
Yeah.
So
well, I had
it's
one
the other day. Sorry, the one I just read one the other day saying, if you are not getting private training, blah 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 blah, you will not make it. And if your dad doesn't have money and know people, it's like, it's just not true. Okay, shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up. It's not true.
Yeah,
it's not true.
Well, I had one the other day with a guy that was talking about cost, like how hockey's too expensive and whatever, and that's true. Like there's a conversation there, but the point we were making had nothing to do with that. And it's like, you can't have a conversation about anything now because just hockey's too expensive. It's like, okay, but there's still a lot of people that are playing hockey and there's a lot of things to talk about. Like, but we can't have one conversation about anything without, oh, but it's too expensive. It's like, yeah, we're just not talking about that right now. Like, it's just a different topic, which is funny. But I think that's maybe bringing it full circle, as they say. At the start, you were saying how just you're saying less and less, it's less and less involvement. It's less and less everything as the hockey dad now. And it's more and more just watching. It's more and more just watching. And that will happen to everybody, whether you choose to do it that way or you don't, because you just don't have control over what's going on, And I think at the end of the day, like you want to make sure you're presenting yourself well and making a good impression as coaches and parents in addition to players, because I'll tell you right now, man, there's parent cuts. Like, there are parent cuts. That happens because someone is just such a cancer to have around that it's not tolerable. And you can do that by not being professional in how you're behaving or not having the sportsmanship element as a parent or a coach or whatever it is. Same thing happens with coaches. Like, coaches won't get called back. Parents will make sure that they're not coaching. Parents will try to leave their team because they're not the coach that should be there because of these kinds of behaviors. And we hear about it all the time. Members, they call in, they write in all the time about this kind of stuff. It happens always, so it'll come out in the wash if you're not
I always like going
careful.
Back to, like, I'm being very 100% honest. Like, I will not actually give my son advice anymore. Is that true or not? Just think.
Mostly true, but not fully true.
Yeah. Like, what I mean is, like, I don't tell him about hockey. When he trains with me in the summertime, then it's working on a certain thing that has nothing to do with, like, it's like back check. Like, I can give him an opinion, but I don't even do that anymore. But you know why? Coach Corey's going to do it. Like, if he doesn't finish every hit the way he's supposed to, Coach Corey's going to tell him. George might pull him in. His assistant coach might pull him in. The scout that has been talking to him might say, like, you never sign if you don't, like, someone's going to tell him. It's not me. I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to tell him to shoot the puck anymore. He's 18. He knows when to shoot and all that shit, right? But the one thing that sticks out to me about this, and this is why, it's like your coaches have it, and if they don't, oh well. I just remember it was a couple years ago, I think year 2, and it was year 2 in junior, and we were watching a game, and you were kind of working out when I was more watching, and my brother and my wife said he's not finishing his checks the way he has been. Like, is he tired or whatever? I said, yeah, I feel like he's not either, but I said I feel like his game's good, but it seems a little passive, I guess. So after the game, he came out and he was the happiest kid, 17 or 16 years old at the time. Came out with a big smile and he said, you like that game? And I think he called.
You said it was Christine that was there.
Yeah, it was Christine. And she said, well, before she had a chance to really say anything, he goes, yeah, we did exactly what the coach wanted us to do. And it was like, oh, yeah? And he told me that after, too. I said, oh, yeah, what was that? He goes, he wanted to shut down this line. He goes, so he explained it. I said, there you go. A lot of times, like, if I was involved, Dad, I could have sent him a text, right? Because I was at home that day. Could have sent him a text. I'm like, nice job not throwing your body around. Nice, like, and then he would have read, you're an idiot. You don't even know what you're, like, that would have been, you don't even know what you're talking about. My coach said, lay off, back off. It was a 1-3-1 or whatever, where it was like, all my job was is to shut down, get it deep. So mom and dad that are saying, you didn't shoot, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So, yeah, my coach said not to. And then you could say, well, then he's not helping you get drafted and all that. It's like, yeah, we just zip it. Just zip it. Just watch. There's people getting paid a good chunk of money to coach your kids. Just let it happen, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. I'm good.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
See you next week.
Yeah,